Hey dudes, this is Juliana Donald, Jenny in the Muppets Take Manhattan, and you're listening to Tommy Throwback Kovac on Splat from the Past. Fun fact, Tommy is a Muppet. You poke his navel and he giggles like the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things could get totally radical. Now today, I will be welcoming a former child actress who's been a very successful voiceover actress for the last few decades now. I'm talking about Alyson Court. Alyson, of course, played the little girl that was with the little boy in Sesame Street Presents Follow That Bird. And it's celebrating its 35th anniversary, and I am going to be talking to her about that. I am also going to be talking to her about lots of stuff she did in voiceover, the Beetlejuice cartoon, Garbage Pail Kids, what else did she do? Care Bears 2, The New Generation, love that movie, and so many others. She also guest starred on the Twilight Zone reboot. She played Priscilla Presley in Elvis Meets Nixon, and so many others, and it's going to be great to have her on. So, here is my interview with Alyson Court.
Hello.
Hey, Alyson. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Pretty good. It's early morning over here.
Well, it's noon here, and I have to apologize. I'm sitting outside on what is otherwise a very calm, peaceful, quiet day. But a fighter jet just went over my head, and I'm really not sure why. That's not a normal thing that happens in Toronto, but I must apologize should it happen again.
Okay, that's I've heard all sorts of sounds in the background doing a podcast, so it's all good. This is such a great honor. Thank you for taking the time today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for contacting me.
Absolutely. So, going back in time, you were a child actress. At what age did you start gravitating toward acting?
Oh, boy. So when I was little, my mom was in like a corporate world, but one of her hobbies with her work was she actually directed their theater group. So there was always this love and appreciation for theater and plays and whatnot in my household. Both of my parents were very much fans of opera as well. And another hobby of my mom's was she was involved with the Canadian Opera Company. She would be what they call supers, which are like background extras for the opera. And when I was 6 years old, the COC was putting on a production of Madame Butterfly, and they knew me because I would go and hang out with my mom at rehearsals and stuff, and they asked if I would be the child in Madame Butterfly, and I said yes, and that was the start of it.
Wow. After
that, the opera company during the summer would have this sort of very, like a precursor to karaoke in a way. They had this sort of vaudeville tent set up in the summertime, and they would serve drinks and food, and they would put on little productions, and they had sing-along sheets, and people could get up from the audience and sing, or you could put in a request for one of your waiters to sing because they were all members of the opera company. And again, I was 6 years old, and I used to get up on stage and do songs and sing in front of the audience there.
Wow.
I loved it.
Yeah. I sing karaoke, so that sounds like it was a lot of fun. What part of Canada are you from?
Toronto, born and raised. Still live here.
So did you do a lot of commercials first?
I did a lot of commercials when I first got an agent. I was 10 years old, and I'd done a bit of theater by that point. but my first foray into television was primarily commercials. I was working on some television that was shooting in Toronto at the time, but yes, predominantly commercials.
For what kind of products?
Oh boy, I think my first on-air seeing me physically commercial was for Kmart.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did a Zellers commercial, then I did another Zellers commercial. So that became sort of a lot of children's clothing, for back to school and for Christmas and things like that. And then got into sort of the American production companies coming up to Toronto and did a commercial for Ms. Pac-Man cereal and Sears Roebuck and then Kraft peanut butter a lot. And by this point, it was very much the kids, the group of kids in really sort of bright colored outfits dancing everywhere.
Uh-huh.
That was a regular thing.
Well, I didn't even know Kraft made peanut butter.
It's funny, the difference between Canadian products and American products. But Kraft peanut butter has always been a staple in my household. I know a lot of people are like, oh, you should go organic or whatever. I'm like, I love Kraft peanut butter. It's the flavor I grew up on. I love it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is new. That is really new to me. I did not know that. I gotta look that up. That's so cool. How does Follow That Bird come to you?
So a year almost after I first got my agent. Well, no, to be fair, it was actually more like 8 months. The summer of 1984.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we filmed Follow That Bird. I auditioned for it, just like anything else. I think I was pretty lucky. I was part of a small group at the time of professional kids, and I was going to a school for the arts, which was publicly funded. So I really did have a lot of support and access to classes, and the entire school was always very supportive of working kids.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually how I originally got my agent and got my taste for television. It was the school getting a call from a TV producer asking for kids to come down and audition for a TV show. And the vice principal, her name is Pat Bailey. She actually just passed away 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But she was probably one of the greatest supports and inspirations in my life. She's the one that called my mom and said, hey, I think Alyson would be really good for this if you're interested. And next thing you know, went and auditioned, got an agent out of it, and the rest is history.
Wow.
So the school was always very supportive, and they would recommend kids if there weren't a lot of kids with agents at the time. So I think as a result, Follow That Bird was it was serendipitous timing because I guess there wasn't a lot of competition.
Mm-hmm. Wow, and I'm sure you were a huge Sesame Street fan.
Oh yeah, I was. So we had a show here called Mr. Dress Up, and it was slightly more like Mr. Rogers, not quite as soft and sweet as Mr. Rogers, but still very, very laid back and gentle. Mm-hmm. And that was my go-to. It also had puppets. But when Mr. Dress Up wasn't on, I would absolutely flip over to Sesame Street. I think my favorite segments, though, I don't even know if they had this in later generations, but I love the typewriter and the pinball counting segments. Those are always my favorites.
Yeah. This movie has been special in my life since I was 3. It came on HBO in August of '86, and my parents taped it for me, and I used to sing all the songs. My mom and I would sing Easy Going Day, and it's really sad for me to think about it now because my mom's in a very messed up situation with her health right now, but I love that song.
Oh, well, first off, I'm really sorry that your mom is suffering with her health. Is it something that you think she can come out of, or
I think she
is
can.
she?
I think she can because perseverance is the family's middle name, you know. But yeah, she had a bad accident a few weeks ago, and I was the one who found her. It was pretty bad, but I have lots of hope.
Well, she's lucky that you're the one who found her.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Okay, so but it sounds like she's got a good support system, and there's a chance for her to get better.
Yes, because it's me.
Well, I'm really sorry that she had her accident, but I think it's lovely that you sing Easygoing Day with her. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it was one of our favorites, you know. And obviously you knew how to sing already, so that was perfect for you getting the part.
There's a funny story with that, though. That was a huge factor for me getting the part. It was the main thing that I did for the auditions. We recorded all of the songs, and then later on, I guess when they were editing the film, they wanted to do something different musically with it. And so it's actually not my voice singing the songs.
Oh.
They re-recorded it, and I remember Ken, our director, sort of taking me aside and sitting me down at the premiere for the film and saying, "Hi, we had to re-record the music, and we were pushed for time, and we also, it was lovely. He phrased it as, Al, you sound like too professional a singer, and they decided they wanted someone who just sounded more kid-like," which was a very nice way of saying, we replaced your voice, kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the time, I loved recording the songs and loved filming the show, filming the movie. And regardless of whether I was the one singing or not, I am, to this day, honored to have been a part of that movie. I love it. I think it's hilarious.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the movie got universal acclaim, but it came out right in the middle of a blockbuster summer with Back to the Future, Teen Wolf, Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, European Vacation, Weird Science, Rambo 2. I made a whole list here. And
oh, my goodness.
They should have waited. They should have waited till maybe Thanksgiving or Christmas, and then it probably would have been more successful. You know?
Yeah, it's important to realize what you're up against, I suppose. That's funny. I had no idea, because at the time, of course, Rambo and a bunch of other movies would not have been, Mad Max, not really my cup of tea. But I didn't realize.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And we just lost Carol Spinney, who played Big Bird.
Yes.
Yeah, did you interact with him outside of his costume?
Yes, in the sense that while we were on set together, we'd have conversations and whatnot, but he was so professional and had so much on his plate. It was an amazing experience just to witness his process of blocking things out physically, because the costume itself, you can't see. You cannot see out of that costume.
Right.
He had this tiny monitor that rigged up right in front of his face. But when you look at all of the shots with Big Bird, and he's traipsing all over the place and walking around, and half the time you can't see his feet, but you know that he's moving a lot.
Yeah.
And he can only see what the camera is seeing. So then you realize, oh my goodness, if he's only seeing what the camera is seeing, he's not seeing where he's going and what's in front of him and what's around him. So the process of him preparing to do those shots was incredible. It was all mapped out so precisely with how he walked, and there's a reason why his walk was so distinctive, because it was a very measured step, because it was the only way that he would know the distance to things.
And the other kid, Benjamin Barrett, do you know whatever happened to him?
I don't. He and I did a commercial together right around the same time that we did Follow That Bird. And we were often sort of paired up in auditions as brother and sister. He was with my agent for a while, but I think eventually he just kind of grew out of acting. It wasn't necessarily something that he wanted to do.
The last thing he did was the Adam Sandler movie Billy Madison, and he had a hilarious line in that movie that I still quote to this day. He's one of those two freshman kids that he hangs out with, and he says, "I had a case of loser denial myself until the lacrosse team stuck a parking code up my ass."
Okay, that's a pretty good claim to fame as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. From "You're the biggest chicken I ever seen" to to that quote from Billy Madison. Pretty great.
Yeah. It's so ironic. Yeah. Oh my God. And then right around that same time, you did an ABC adaptation of Pippi Longstocking.
Yes, that was just 2 years later we filmed it.
I talked to Carrie Heim a couple of years ago, and she was a sweetheart. What was she like to work with?
It was fascinating. Such a different level of, I would just say, presence and ambition and drive. I believe she was from New York. And it's such a different mindset because kids have been working in the States for many, many generations, and there was just sort of this ambition and drive that she had clearly had from day one. And I'd never seen anyone like that before. So I was quite enamored with her approach to her career, I think. She was very, very well read as well, which was just a really sharp cookie in general.
Yeah.
And I know that the costume and, just having a wire stuck through your head for the entire day was quite a frustrating experience. So it was a hard show for her, but she's great.
Yeah.
She's absolutely great.
She certainly is very, very sharp, I have to say that. Yeah, I enjoyed talking to her and stuff. Yeah, I tried to get the girl who played Pippi Longstocking in 1988 on here, and we had it all scheduled, all planned. I was looking forward to it, and then she cancels on me and says that she has to reschedule, and then I don't hear from her for like almost a month, and then she's like, "I'll give you 20 minutes for $400. I'm like, "You're out of your fucking mind." So I decided to pass.
Oh. Yeah, I guess it's funny. It's funny how, I don't know, I will never begrudge anyone for trying to make $1 from something that isn't a scam taking advantage of seniors. Yeah. Like, there are certain jobs out there, I'm like, no, that's not a job, you're just a lowlife. I'm sorry, there's no excuse. But, I've had a tough time dealing with going to cons, like conventions and whatnot, because way back in my day, when I was doing appearances for the Big Comfy Couch, I would do store appearances, and the store would pay me to be there, but we never charged for the autographs or for the photos.
Oh, yeah.
That was just, it was like, oh, thank you for coming and supporting me. It's my pleasure to sign this for a fan. And to see the complete shift where now that is an industry in and of itself and people make a lot of money off that, it's something that I've wrestled with uncomfortably for several years. I've done a few of them, but I can't do it the way a lot of other people can do it because it's just not how I'm wired. And if there's someone there who it is clear that they can't afford stuff, I'm not gonna send them away. Like, it's just I can't do that. But I understand that it is a business for other people. So people who want to get paid for things, power to them. I want to get paid for my work, but then I separate work and, I don't know, just stuff like what we're doing right now, it's a very different thing. We're just having a conversation.
Yeah, like this one guy I talked to, he said, he hates charging for autographs at conventions. He says, he's like, if you're coming to me with a poster you bought, you did your part, but I'm not going to charge you for my signature on your poster, and I thought that was a very nice thing to say,
Yeah, it is. It's also, and that's very much from my mindset. Having said that, because it has now become an industry, and because there are other people who are there and they are charging, they will get quite upset if you don't charge now, because they see it as you're undercutting or undermining their business.
Oh, God.
So that's why I rarely do appearances, just because I'm like, I don't want to be a dick and be charging an exorbitant amount of money for an autograph, but then I also don't want to be disrespectful to other people and what this has become. And apparently someone's basically explained it to me that the industry has changed.
Yeah.
People coming to these conventions, they know the cost of these things. They fully expect to pay you for these things. So don't worry, they will come and they will budget accordingly. So I respect that as well. But it's just, I guess a lot of the appearances that I'll do will be tied to charities. So they aren't necessarily paying me to be there. Like there's one, I work with David Wildstar, who does a lot of pop culture cons in small communities surrounding Toronto. And he always partners up with the local food bank. So for people to get in, they either bring a donation for the food bank, either as like a form of non-perishable food item, or a toonie, like $2 to donate. And then David doesn't pay me to be there, but then I charge like really low fees, like $5 an autograph or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's more just to get people to come out and support the food bank than anything else.
Yeah. Oh, that's sweet. I love that. Yeah, my mother and I, we used to volunteer for our local food bank when we were going under hard times because we needed food. And but I'm a big supporter of the food bank. That's wonderful, Alyson. That really is.
Well, look at right now. You see the images of the lineups of cars waiting to get their box of food because of what's happened with COVID. And it's not, like, I think there's a stigma attached to people who will use the services of a food bank, and we need to get past that, because any given moment, how you provide for your family can be threatened.
Right.
And that's why these services are essential for us to continue to support in good times and bad.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree. How was making Rolling Vengeance?
That was a blast. I'm a huge horror movie buff.
Me too.
I always have been.
Me too.
Always have been, and I always will be. And I want to make horror movies. I want to be in horror movies. I want to direct horror movies. I have a friend, Stuart Stone. He and I grew up acting together, and he now makes horror movies, low-budget horror movies, and he's really good. They're comedy horror movies. And I keep yelling at him, when are you going to put me in your movie and kill me? You promised me. So Rolling Vengeance was absolutely a blast for me, because I got to die in that movie, and I got to scream my head off, which was fantastic. And it was really wild just being in the car with the way that they shoot it, and the fact that the glass that they replaced our windows with was the special breakable glass that it spider cracks, and it's made of sugar, I guess, I think is what they said, so that it's not actually sharp shards. Because when the drunk brothers start whipping the beer bottles at us, it had to be okay for the shards of glass to fly in and hit us.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a fun scene to film. And the guys that played the brothers, this Ned Beatty's sons, they were so sweet, and they were just so mortified that they had to be awful to us and mean and cuss at us. And it was just, like, they were the loveliest people. And it was playing so against type. It was a lot of fun. It was a great experience. And Ned Beatty, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just being able to be in a scene with him. And then going to the rap party afterwards with Ned Beatty. That was pretty cool for an 11-year-old.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Marsha Moreau plays your sister. Do you still talk to her?
Yeah. I don't. She and her brother, Nathaniel Moreau, they were both really solid actors and had great careers as kids. And then I believe they moved with their mom out west. I'm not entirely sure. But we had all been with the same agent. And then I remember when they moved, and I remember my agent being quite saddened by it. But that was it. I haven't really encountered them since.
Yeah, because she did this. Oh God, I love this Jim Henson Christmas special. Like a year after Follow That Bird, it was called Jim Henson's The Christmas Toy, and that's another one of those Jim Henson things that I've loved since childhood. I would love to interview her because I love that so much, but hopefully maybe someday. Do you remember doing an episode of the Twilight Zone reboot?
Oh yes, yeah. No, again, because Twilight Zone, huge fan. So when I got that part, that was a bucket list check mark right there. And Bruce Weiss from Hill Street Blues, that was phenomenal working with him. Mm-hmm. And then it was Michael Joe Straczynski that wrote the episode. And I didn't even realize until years later when I worked on a CBC radio play that he wrote. And we crossed paths again. It was bizarre to kind of see worlds colliding again. But it was, especially since I didn't know Babylon 5, obviously, when we did Twilight Zone. But afterwards, that was a real honor because I love Babylon 5. Mm-hmm.
And then you played Priscilla Presley in Elvis Meets Nixon. Did you get to meet the real Priscilla?
No, this wasn't a movie that she was necessarily interested in supporting.
Yeah.
I think they certainly approached her, but she had recently done her own movie, and it was done from Priscilla's point of view.
Yeah.
So she had a certain opinion on how she and the rest of the characters should be presented, and that's fine. But this one was a true story. And if you've seen it it's so funny with Dick Cavett. He's so dry and amazing, his delivery as the narrator.
Yeah.
And getting to work with Curtis Armstrong.
Oh, God.
And Doherty from Mars and the Caucus. It was, and Jackie Burroughs, she's Canadian acting royalty. Like, it was a fabulous, fabulous experience as well. And I don't know if you're aware, Alan Arkush, who directed that movie, he did Rock and Roll High School.
Yep.
Yeah, he's an incredible director. He also, did you ever watch Heroes?
Heroes.
The TV series?
No.
Okay. It's where Zachary Quinto got his sort of start.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, it was a TV series about, it was very much like if you did an X-Men TV series, live action. But Alan Arkush was one of the creative minds behind that. He directed a bunch of it. So and he directed Moonlighting, which was a show that I was a huge fan of when I was growing up. So again, another honor to work with him.
Which Curtis Armstrong was on. I met Curtis a couple of years ago. at a convention. He was a nice guy. We were talking about Harry Nilsson because he's a huge expert on Harry Nilsson, and I love his music too and stuff. And then we something weird happened. My friend who came with me to the convention, he was taking a nap when I met him, and then later when his nap was over, he wanted to finally meet people, and then we went back to Curtis's table, and I got in their picture, and Curtis got mad, and so we had to do a makeup picture, and what's her name? Natasha Henstridge was in the table next to him, and we had talked to her before. We went to his table, and she was like kind of defending me, like, "Hey, be nice to him. He's a nice guy." You know? Yeah. He wasn't mean or nothing. He was just a little irritated that I got into the picture. That's all. But I thought that was very
funny. Yeah, he was. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, but I thought that was. I thought he was a nice guy though overall.
Yeah, he is. I think circumstances can. You know what? I never. If it's only something that happens once, don't judge a person based on it, especially at a convention, because conventions are so stressful.
Yeah.
For everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if eventually people can develop a reputation, and if there's a pattern of behavior, then absolutely take that into consideration. But I found with Curtis, he was an absolute dream to work with. Very, very generous actor.
Yeah.
He's the kind of actor who, when it's not their close up and they, technically they aren't needed and they're allowed to go sit off stage, he'll be like, yeah, but she needs me for timing and for the lines and eyeline and everything. I'm gonna stand here for her. Like he's one of those guys. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, he was very sweet. I could see that about him though. So how did you transition into voiceover work?
Well, one of my first commercials when I was 10 years old was a voiceover commercial for Alphabet cereal. Mm-hmm. And then shortly thereafter, I did a demo commercial for Coke with Cal Dodd. And I don't know if you know Cal Dodd. He was the voice of Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
Animated X-Men series.
Yeah.
Together. Yeah. So the first time I ever worked with Cal Dodd was actually doing this Coke demo where we had to sing. And they were testing out a new sort of jingle theme song for Coke. Mm-hmm. Needless to say, they didn't end up going with it, but we recorded it. And there were a bunch of things that I was recording at the time. And then there's a company called Nelvana. Way back in the day, they started out as a small animation company, but they also grew their production house to do some live action television as well. They did a series that was incredibly popular in Canada called The Alyson Twins. So I was familiar with Nelvana. They were familiar with me. I'd probably been to a couple of auditions by this point and had done an episode of The Alyson Twins. And then they got the rights to do the Ewok cartoon. Mm-hmm. So when I was 11 years old, I auditioned for and got the part of Milani in the Ewoks cartoon. And that was my first foray into animation. But it was never a switch from one to the other. They were always simultaneous.
Yeah. And the aforementioned Jackie Burroughs did a voice, as well as Cree Summer and her father Don Franks. And they all did voices for Heavy Metal, one of my favorite cartoon movies. Yeah. And also Tabitha St. Germain. Oh, she's so talented.
Yes, she is. I love her voice.
Yeah. I love Care Bears Movie 2, A New Generation.
Do you? Okay.
Yes. I'm one of the minorities, I know. There's a lot of people who like the first one the best. I personally don't like the first or the third one, but the second one has always been my favorite. I love that whole thing about being a winner or a loser, the camp champ thing. I think it's a really good message.
Absolutely it is. And the idea that sometimes people end up being really horrible, but underneath it all, there might be somebody there worth saving, and you just have to show them a bit of love and kindness. So working with one of my all-time best buddies growing up as kid actors, Sonny Thrasher, he was my brother in that, and then Hadley Kay, who I'd been working with from the time I was 10 years old. He's the voice of Darkheart.
Yeah.
And Cree, again, we were this little cluster of kids who were doing a lot of voice acting simply because there weren't a lot of other kids doing it.
Yeah. I was on the internet and I found a picture. This guy, whoever made this, did a fantastic job, but it was so inappropriate. Somebody took somebody. I think he took the heads of Darkheart and Christy, or maybe he just drew them all together. I don't know, but it was Darkheart and Christy having sex. I thought that was so funny. Yeah.
Rule 34,
Yeah.
It is what it is. You just have to kind of shrug and not care. Like, I think the whole point of art is for people to express themselves. You can't judge somebody else's taste. It might not be your thing, but just, move on.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was pretty good though, the way it was drawn though.
All right, so they had talent.
Yeah. And then you did the Garbage Pail Kids cartoon, and you played several characters in that: Terry Cloth, Faye Hooray, Lois Lamebrain, and Belly Button.
Yeah, I don't even, Terry Cloth was my regular character, and then I guess our director, Michael Hack, would assign some of the other characters, the incidental characters, every time we would get a script. He would be like, okay, Tara, you're going to do these ones, and Michael, you're doing a bunch of these ones, Sonny, you're doing these ones, and Alyson, you're going to do these ones today. And it was very just whoever was kind of in the room at the time. So a lot of the characters I don't even remember, but Terry Cloth was, of course, my girl.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't even realize for a long time that you were the voice of Lydia in the Beetlejuice cartoon.
Huh. There you go.
Yeah, because I used to watch it all the time on Saturday mornings when I was a kid. All the time.
It was a great cartoon. I was a huge fan of the movie, and I was just the right age.
Yeah.
I was very much Lydia at heart at that time. Dressing in all black, super, super pale. Nobody feels as much as I feel. All that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to see the movie with my parents, I remember my mom looking at me and saying, "Hey, if Nelvana ever does a cartoon based on this, you should totally play Lydia." And I was like, "Yeah." And then, the following year, we're making a cartoon. And that was the first time I ever really set my sights on a part saying, I want this part. And worked my butt off. I listened over and over and over to Winona's voice in that movie. And for the first audition, I nailed her voice. I went in, had the right attitude, and I got the call back.
Mm-hmm.
And I was away on March break in Florida. And couldn't make the call back. So by the time I got back to Toronto, they had cast it and I guess recorded it and then realized, no, that's not the direction they want to go. And I was back by that point. So then they brought me in. But by that point, they had said, okay, we're going to age her down. We want her to be younger than she was in the movie and not quite so dark and sarcastic.
Yeah.
So I was like, but I worked so hard to do that voice. They're like, nah, just do your own voice. You're fine.
They wanted you that badly, it sounded like.
It was more just an attitude, I think. there are several ways. Like there were several other actresses up for it who were all phenomenal voice actors, but it was just like if you were a goth kid at the time, there was an attitude that you just kind of understood.
Yeah.
And it was a much more laid back, chilled out, still friendly, but just a bit more of a chilled vibe than what we would normally be asked to do as voice actors. Normally the female characters are very, very loving or energetic, and it was more really, really aggressive and powerful. And it just, that wasn't the vibe for Lydia. So I think that's why it worked out.
That was great. Can you do Valley Girl accent?
Yeah, Valley Girl into modern day, upspeak, and then you transition into the vocal fry. So Valley Girl was like, oh my god, I have to go get my nails done, oh my god. And then nowadays we tend to transition into the vocal fry. It's like, oh, so like I was talking to this guy on the subway and I just couldn't really understand where he was coming from. Every time I would start talking, his eyes would glaze over and I'm like, buddy, like what's your damage? So that's where we're at in terms of annoying, dumb-sounding voices, which is unfortunate because, I think it betrays the speaker, because I know a lot of young women who are incredibly intelligent, but they speak that way for whatever reason.
Yeah. Do you know Susan Roman?
I do, of course.
Yeah, I interviewed her a couple of years ago, and she's in her early 60s now, and she does a dead-on, like 16-year-old Valley Girl voice, and I was just giggling like a schoolgirl, laughing at how great she did it.
Yeah, Susan is so incredibly talented, and being able to grow up around people like Susan and be in the booth with Susan and other people of that caliber, Ron Rubin, Julie Lemieux, Tony Daniels, Len Carlson. It was John Stalker, Liz Hanna, just a phenomenal group of really talented voice people that I got to learn from and attempt at emulating down the road. Not quite there yet, but we're still working on it.
Well, you're in good hands emulating Susan, because she's multi-talented, that lady.
Yes.
And she's so wonderful. Yeah. Do you do the Resident Evil video games? Do you get recognized for that the most in terms of voiceover?
I would say it's not the most. It's definitely out there. The ones that kind of split it up would be, you've got Lydia, Jubilee, and Claire Redfield. And then on the other side of that, Lunette the Clown. So there's, I would say, the three voice characters kind of, if you put them together, they equal the recognition from Big Comfy Couch. But there's a lot of crossover with fans of X-Men and Beetlejuice and then Resident Evil. They're often the same crowd.
Yeah. I know that productions have stopped during this time of COVID, but have you done any voiceover work for any future projects during this time?
I've been directing. I'm still directing, but directing remotely. So there's a bunch of voiceovers, animated shows, and then live action with CG characters that I've managed to continue to direct. And then we're fortunate in Toronto, we were able to start filming in studios again. So there's a TV series, a preschool TV series that I'm an actor in as well as a director. And it's live action. It's called Miss Persona.
Nice.
So we've been back in studio since last week, and that's been wonderful. Just being able to be back to work, and there are some changes, obviously, but as long as everyone is diligent and just understands the rules and doesn't get careless and is respectful for other people, we're getting it done, and we're getting it done quite efficiently.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I didn't even realize you directed. How long have you been doing that?
I started directing animation, I think, back in 2014. The first series I directed was same people who worked on Almost. Nunchuck Season 2. So, Nunchuck Season 2, then after that it was The Magic School Bus Rides Again.
Oh, yeah.
With Kate McKinnon. So that was a huge, huge honor. And from there, it just sort of exploded into a bunch of other things. Cupcake and Dino, it's on Netflix, and it's a really, really funny series. Mm-hmm. But what else do we have? There are 2 shows coming out very soon. There's one, and I know it has been announced for Netflix. So there's a show called Alien TV. Mm-hmm. Don't know when it's going to be hitting the airwaves, but that is coming out, and you should watch it because it is hilarious.
I will.
There's some more stuff happening with the Magic School Bus, so keep an eye out for that. Then we've got Clifford the Big Red Dog on Amazon.
Ooh. That's
been wonderful because it's got, the cast was just incredible, and the music is so good. Mm-hmm. So, by all means, check that out. Remy and Boo and Power Birds are both for NBC Universal. Those shows are really, really cute.
Right.
So there's been a lot going on, but Miss Persona was my first step into live action directing, so that's been really exciting.
Mm-hmm. Who does the voice of Clifford now?
His name is Adam Sanders. He's a young man from he's in the Toronto area. I'm not sure if he's actually originally from here or somewhere out east. But he lives in Toronto. He's a great, great stage performer. Really sweet guy. You should actually try to get in touch with him and do an interview because he's the voice of Clifford the Big Red Dog, and he's just lovely. He's the absolute perfect balance of, yes, he's an adult, he's not a little child, but he has this innocent, boyish voice.
Yeah.
That is so perfect for Clifford. And he's such a great singer. He's just been a delight. So doing the music for Clifford was a wonderful experience. All of the cast were great. And Hannah Levinson plays Emily Elizabeth, and oh my goodness, what a powerhouse performer.
Yeah.
Just incredible.
Yeah, he has a childlike exuberance to him, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm old enough to remember when John Ritter did the voice of Clifford.
Yeah, and he was lovely too. And again, he had the innocence, but it was an older sound than what they wanted. Like, they really wanted to get away from, I don't know, the awkwardness of, like, clearly an adult male hanging out with a little girl. Let's just step away from that. And the relationship with Clifford and Emily Elizabeth in the show that we've got on the air now is just beautiful. It's lovely.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great, Alyson. I'm glad you got all these different things going on and stuff, because this is a crazy time. We don't know what's going to happen.
No, we don't. There's a lot of nastiness out there, so I'm really happy and thankful that I get to spend my time working on things that actually bring people joy and sort of emphasize kindness and caring and empathy.
Mm-hmm. You definitely have all of that, Alyson, I have to say. And
thank you, Tommy, as do you.
Thank you so much. And we get to the fun part of the show, my secret silly game. And what this is it's a series of silly slumber party questions. Nobody wins or loses. It's just having fun. And how it works is I ask you the question, you answer it, and then you ask me the exact same question, and I answer it.
Oh, okay.
Alyson, are you ticklish?
Yes. Tommy, are you ticklish?
Yes, I'm baby ticklish. I get a knee-jerk reaction when you tickle me.
Okay.
What's your favorite part of the body? It could be any body part.
Oh boy. The brain.
That's a good one. And
Tommy, what is your favorite part of the body?
the belly button.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever watch The Big Comfy Couch? Because we have a song about the belly button.
Really?
Yes.
No, I've never seen The Big Comfy Couch. Is it on YouTube?
I imagine all of the episodes are somewhere. If it's not on YouTube, it might be on Hulu or maybe Amazon picked it up. I know some streaming service has it. Maybe even, no, it wouldn't be Disney Plus. I'm not sure. Somebody has it, and the episode you definitely want to look for the song. It's called My Belly Button.
Nice.
Is the song. I don't fully remember the name of the episode, but the song is My Belly Button. So you'll be able to find it somewhere.
Love it. Love it.
I'm sure if you just search on YouTube for My Belly Button Big Comfy Couch, it'll come up.
Okay, I'll definitely check it out. Are you an innie or an outie?
Any.
Same here. Same here. What color are your toenails painted?
They're not. I tend to not wear nail polish. I just don't think it's very healthy. I find that it suffocates the nails. Yeah. So I do my best to just keep my nails natural.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing lately. I've been going au naturel, but last time I painted them, they were purple with sparkles.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
I started painting my toes when I was 13.
Yeah, it's funny because I've gone through phases where it was like, I buy just, 12 different kinds of nail polish or whatnot at once and go through a lot of phases, and then eventually just sort of fades. It passes, and I get lazy. I think is probably the source of it all. But it is a good way to express yourself. I think it's a great way to find expression.
It is, definitely. What would you say is your best personality trait?
Oh, boy. My best personality traits. That's a really tough question, because one thing that I have that I guess bothers other people, but I think it's absolutely essential for civil discourse in a society, is I always try to, I guess my natural inclination is to be devil's advocate. So that's why I can never align myself completely with any one ideology or any political party or anything out there. And as soon as I see something hit the news waves and people are saying, oh my goodness, did you hear this? Did you hear this? My natural instinct is like, clearly something's being taken out of context. Let's figure out what the meaning is behind it. I can't help it. It's just how I'm wired. I like to, if people are going in one direction, I tend to go in the other. And it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. I often will, but the only way I can end up where other people are is if I've gone full circle, because I have to see, I always want to know what the argument against something is before I can make a decision for myself as to what the right approach is or what I should think about something. So it can be very frustrating for people who live with me, because I tend to be like with every single little thing, I'll be questioning their thinking on it or assumptions on it, and I think that can probably be very exhaustive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know I do that myself. I hear things and I'm thinking, okay, let me find out more about it before I draw a conclusion. Like with this COVID thing, I heard so many different opinions and views, and I was on the fence about certain things and stuff, but generally I just, try to listen to all sides, before I have an opinion on anything.
Good.
Yes. My best personality trait, it's either my sense of empathy or the fact that I have no filter.
See, and those are two things that I absolutely respect, and I think the no sense of filter, a lot of people, it can rub people the wrong way just because they think it's, there are rules to social interfacing, and I'm like, life is too short for all that bullshit.
Exactly.
Say what you mean what you say.
I've interviewed so many Canadians. They almost all of them have no filter.
That's funny because we're always, we're seen as the polite, quiet ones. But I guess you give us a platform and we'll just start going. And oh boy, we all tend to swear like sailors and be quite liberal with our thoughts on adult matters. But we're the polite ones.
Yeah, I love it. I love Canadians. They're such awesome people that way. And then my favorite question: is there a stinky smell that just makes you gag?
Yes. Yes, there is. So there's a smell that I can't stand, and the word I have been told for it is gunt, Gunt,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like con crud, con sweat. It's the smell that people will have in crowded places when they clearly haven't showered in a very long time.
Oh, so pheromones,
And
basically.
well, no, not the pheromones. The sweat that gets trapped in, like it's not just for, it's not a weight thing. People always assume that it's only obese people that get stinky if they haven't showered. It's like, no, everybody has crevices and wrinkles in their body and folds where their body parts meet.
Yeah.
And if you don't shower, it's gonna smell.
Right.
And it's the smell of sweat that just gets trapped there and then just accumulates, and that smell I will gag. Yeah. How about you?
It's either farts or stinky feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you with stinky cheese though? Like, do you like cheese? The pungent cheese?
Nah, I'm not really. And I don't eat
Okay.
I don't eat cheese that much, but just because for health reasons and stuff. But
Okay.
I can't do that cheese.
Okay. And that's fair. See, I love stinky cheese. And every time I unwrap a package, it's like, oh wow, I feel like I'm chewing on my son's socks right now. But so it's funny how the smell is just like, ugh, but then you taste it, and I love it. It's a bizarre sort of discourse between my nose and my mouth.
Oh yeah. Whenever I tell people though about the farts and the feet, they always say, "Oh, I have kids. That doesn't affect me."
It's true. You do have to learn to be quite tolerant of that stuff. It doesn't mean that you like it or that you ever grow fully nose blind to it, but you just have to kind of get over it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a reality. And also, I'm a Cub Scout leader,
Mm-hmm.
so whenever we go camping, and especially in the winter when you're in a winter cabin, everything just smells like feet.
Yeah.
That is the smell that you have to get. Your sleeping bag, your pillows, your jackets, everything that you came with, for some reason, all of your own gear ends up smelling like feet, and the entire cabin by the end of it smells like feet because it's all like boots and then stinky wet socks that are coming in and having to get changed. And yeah. So be forewarned. Should you ever become a Cubs leader, you're in for some stinky feet smells.
I have no aspirations to do that. I barely have patience for children. I have a nephew and niece, and they drive me crazy.
All right. Well, it's important to always know your limitations, right?
Exactly. Well, Alyson, this has been a lot of fun, and you are awesome. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Tommy. Thank you for asking me, and I appreciate the questions, and I appreciate you reaching out, and I wish you all the best. I certainly wish your mom a speedy recovery, and I wish you good health and strength to help her through everything, and hopefully see you on the other side of this pandemic.
Yes, and I hope something happens where you have to do a convention in California, because I will be there to meet you.
All right, sounds like a plan.
Okay, you have yourself a great day. Stay safe because we need you.
Thanks. Oh, thank you, honey. You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there you have it. Alyson Court. Ain't she a sweetheart? Oh, she is so much fun. The true definition of a Canadian. Free-spirited, carefree, no filter. I love her. She is awesome. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes!